I thought we'd talk about cleaning bikes. There's been a lot of people dragging bikes out of sheds over the last few months and getting them back on the road again. And you may recall sort of a couple of weeks ago we talked about doing the M-check and checking that your bikes were safe to use. So today I thought we'd raise the subject of getting them clean. They've been stood there for a while, they might have some cobwebs on them, a little bit of rust from the damp, that sort of thing. And I thought rather than sort of covering all this specialist equipment that you can buy to do sort of bike cleaning, I'd cover a little bit of sort of the stuff that you might have lying around the house. So I think what we'll do today, I've been collecting bikes for quite some years now and I've got quite a few old bikes in the shed. So we'll take a bike out of my shed, we'll put it on the grass, we'll give it a bit of a clean. I'll just give you a few tips about some of the stuff that I use to get my bikes up and running nice and clean. So let's go and get a bike out. I think this one will do. So I've got a nice old Raleigh Chilton here. It's got a little bit of pitting on the chrome. As you can see, the tyres have gone down, so straight away I'd have to do an M-check on this before I was going to use it. Well, I've covered that in a previous video, so let's not worry too much about that at the moment. Let's concentrate on getting this thing clean. So you may have heard me before say about turning bikes upside down. Don't turn it upside down, no matter how old it is, no matter if it's not yours, on the concrete. Got a nice green space here, so why not just do it on the grass? You could also put in a bike stand, or you could put a cloth or some cushions on it or something like that, but I'm going to do it on the grass. So I always turn the bike upside down to clean because it's so much easier to be able to sort of rotate things around. At worst, you might miss a few bits on the top tube which you can concentrate on once you get it around the correct way around. So I'm going to show you a few things that I use to clean bikes now. So you can get expensive bike cleaners and things that some of them are quite cheap, some are quite expensive, and they work quite well, but I tend to find that washing up liquid works perfectly well. So I've made a bit of a pre-spray mix here, and it's just literally a layer of washing up liquid on the bottom and a little bit of warm water. If you haven't got one of these pressurised cleaners, you can just use a normal squirty bottle once you've finished whatever is in it. Refill it up again, a little bit of layer of washing up liquid at the bottom, a bit of warm water and spray it on. So that's literally what I'm going to do. I'm just going to spray it on the bike. And the reason I'm doing this is because it helps sort of start to penetrate through any of the dirt that's already in there, because the fairy liquid will break it all down. I remember people, when I used to sort of do car shows and things, people used to say, don't use fairy liquid to wash your cars because the salt in it takes all the wax and all the oil out of your paint, it makes your paint flat, and you know what, it's true. But on this occasion, we don't really mind about that because we're going to compensate for that once we finish cleaning it. I'm literally just going to give it a quick spray over. I'm not going to worry too much about the chain and things at the moment. And again, I'm going to do this quickly. I'm not going to spend hours on it like I would have done normally. This is just a quick clean to get it nice and bright again. Happy with that. So I tend to use a little bit of warm soapy water again, same bit of washing up liquid. And I tend to use a small pad, try to avoid using that side unless I really need to, and a paintbrush is great as well because you can get all the nooks and crannies for it. So again, I'm just going to give this a quick clean over. I'm not going to go too mental with it. But you can see once it starts to dry off, you'll notice that the paint will come back nice and shiny again. If you're spinning wheels around with wet your fingers, I'm just going to give this a quick rub over. If there's a bit more mud in it, you might need to put a bit more of a pre-spray on it. This is just dirty from lack of use, really, this. This is where I get my feet wet. And my cameraman laps. And again, the brush, we use the same way, so I can get inside the mud guards with this. I can see all the muck coming from in there already. If you need to, you can put a little bit more pre-spray on as you go along. Certainly won't hurt. And the brush allows you to get behind things, so this bottom bracket here where the little gaps are, I can get in there. I can get behind the mudguard stays on the forks, as I've already said, I can get inside the mudguards too. You notice this has hub gears on this bike, so it doesn't have a derailleur as such, and that's quite dirty and covered in mud, in oil, sorry, but because of that it'll clean up really nice because the oil will have protected it over the years. It's very rare do you find a rusty 3-speed hub. Again, a little bit more pre-spray won't hurt. And as I said, once it's upside down, just remember to do the bits that you can't see. Give the brakes a quick clean. And this is really just a quick, get the dust, get the cobwebs off it before you put your bum on the seat. Have I missed anywhere? I probably have. But the longer you spend on it, the better really. You could also use, what I've used in the past for bikes that are quite dirty. This one's actually not too bad at all. What I've used in the past is caravan cleaner you buy from motorist discount stores. It's designed to get sort of mould and mildew and stuff off, and that can bite through the dirt quite well actually. So if you've got a bike that's really dirty, that's been stood a long time, use that for your pre-spray. It works really well. You don't leave it on for too long because it makes your paint go really flat. So now put the bracket in there. Again, quick clean. Get the cobwebs off. If you haven't got a hose pipe, I'm fortunate enough to have one. If you haven't got a hose pipe, you can get one of these pre-spray bottles. You can get a normal household one that's had kitchen cleaner in or something like that. That'll work just as well. Or you just get some bottles of water if you want to. And turn the right way around. Now this bike's got a stand on it, so I can pop the stand on. And what I do now, I have one of these polishing cloths, give it a dry over. It's quite warm today, so it'll dry quite quickly anyway. We can see a little bit of pitting on here. We'll be able to hopefully address with a couple of tips that I'll give you shortly. And we can see that's a lot better already. It is wet, granted. And the wheels have got a little bit of pitting on as well, so we'll look at getting that right. And we can see a few marks on this mud guard, if the camera can see those. They look to be scratches, but I'm thinking that's white paint off something else, maybe off a wall or off another bike that was in the shed with this one. So we can look to address that as well. So let that dry off a little bit. Now the next stuff I'm going to use, I'm going to start using some sort of chemically type of stuff, so I'm going to wear some goggles, don't laugh, and I've got some gloves too, because some of the stuff that we use is chemical based. So I mentioned marks on tyres, on the mudguard, sorry, on the paint. So to do that we need a material that's going to cut the top of the paint. So, and by that I mean take the top off, so we use that in abrasive polish. So a lot of people know T-cut, they've heard of T-cut and they're aware of T-cut. That works really well. There's a lot of different brands out there that you can get. So I've got here, I've got some Colour Restorer, which was a Wilkinson's Own one, that was £2. And again, that's a T-cut, it's just a slightly weaker version of it, it works just as well. I've got some G3 scratch remove, which is more professional stuff, which is for automotive paint, but it's just paint, so it works perfectly well. You can use that. And believe it or not, but your SIF or JIF, as I usually call it, is also abrasive, so you can use that as well to sort of get marks off paintwork. And it works particularly well if you've got amber walls or white walls, that works quite well. And if you've got like a white vinyl saddle, it's good at bringing that sort of stuff up. So that's the kind of stuff that you might have lying in your house, so that works really well for getting scratches out and just bringing a bit of life back into your paint. The first thing I want to show you though is the chrome. You might have seen these Brillo pads, for cleaning pads, cleaning pans, sorry. It's basically white wool with a bit of soap in it. White wool with a bit of soap on it. And the reason you might think, oh, well, why are we going to do it wet when we're trying to clean rust off? It's because the soap in the pad stops you from scratching the chrome. These are quite abrasive, as you can imagine. So what I tend to do is I usually do it in a bit of soapy water, and that will stop the wire from scoring the surface of the chrome. We've got a bike frame, I've got one in there that it's quite badly scarred because somebody's done it with a bit of wire wool and gone in and done it dry. We're not going to do that. So I can show you on the handlebars, again, a bit of pre-spray, it is just soapy water. I'm going to get this wet. And if the camera can come and have a look at this bar, I'm going to show you the difference before and after. So there we've got some pitting on the handlebars. If you can feel the rust, the chances are you won't get it all off completely, but you will get some of it off. So what I'm going to do, I'll leave one side and I'll clean this side, just very quickly to show you how it's done. Nothing more than a Brillo pad and a bit of soapy water. And the longer you spend, the better it'll get. But you can see how quickly this will work. See, pitted chrome will always be pitted. You won't be able to get rid of the pitted, but you'll certainly be able to bring it up nice and bright. So, what's that? 30 seconds or so. So clean that off. And with my drying cloth, which is this one, how better is that? I think you'll agree that that is a lot better. And if you wanted to, let's try it with this wheel. So you can see this wheel's got a bit of pitting on there, you can get a bit of rust on there. Let's just do a section of this wheel. Now I've started this, I'm going to have to do the full thing. Not while you guys are watching, obviously. And you can see how quickly I'm going over this. Let's do that section there. And this will work on all chrome. Aluminium's slightly different. Let's get the thick off with a sponge. And dry it. You see the difference already. As I say, there's a little bit of pitting on there that you can't get rid of, but once that wheel's all nice and clean and the full wheel's like that, it'll look lovely. It really shines. So if you imagine the full bike done with that, it's the same work for the calipers. You could do the stand, even though the stand's aluminium, you can still give it a clean up with the abrasive wool and it'll look really nice. Always make sure you've got a bit of soap on there, it stops it from scoring. So, a little bit more, a few more tips. Once your bike's clean, obviously I do all the chrome now, I get all the chrome sorted out, get it all punched off. You want to protect it, you want to bring the shine back. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can get a car polish if you wanted to. Give it a lick over with some car polish. You could use something like a GT85, which a lot of people use for lubricating moving parts. That's fine, but it works really well for cleaning and protecting. It's like a PTFE Teflon, so you spray it on the frame, give it a rub over, and it'll protect the frame, stop stuff from sticking to it. Just bear in mind that if you are spraying this on your bike, don't spray it on anywhere that needs friction, so your braking surfaces, your brake rotors, your wheel rims, that sort of thing. You can get some other stuff as well. There's a muck-off version of it, Protect and Shine. Again, this is a specialist kind of thing. You're more likely to have that for lubricating your chain or your pedals or whatever it may be. So you can use that as much the same as that. I use Mr. Sheen. So a furniture polish. Original one, the ones that have the smell don't seem to work quite as well, so I was just using the original one. And this is also really good for chrome. I've got a polishing cloth here. So I'm going to cover the bike so it doesn't go everywhere, and just put a bit on there. And I'm also going to put a bit on this top tube here. This is a demonstration. And I'm just going to buff that off to a shine. And Mr. Sheen, for some reason, loves chrome. The camera can pick that up now. You see the difference between the two sides now, that looks lovely. Again, if you're going to do that, I would do that with the wheels. But I'd also make sure I didn't get it on the braking surface, or at least cleaned it off the braking surface first. And again on the paintwork, it just gives it a nice smooth finish and brings it a bit of a shine. So that looks really nice. So let's have a look at this mark here where we've got a bit of what I think is paint off a wall or something like that, and let's see if we can get that off. So I'm going to use a cloth. That one's a bit damp, so I'll use this one. I'm going to use a bit of this G3. If you wanted to use the sif, you could. If you want to use a bit of the tea-cutty type thing, that's fine. I'm just going to use a bit of G3, it's what I always use. And let's see what happens when we rub it on here. You've got to be quite careful with this stuff because it is abrasive, so if you rub it for too long, you will actually start taking the paint off. As you can see there, that's coming off. Which is a good job really, because otherwise it would look a bit silly on camera if it hadn't come on. So all that is where the bike's been put in a room, or it's been in a shed and something else has hit it, and the paint from that has transferred onto this little guide. As you can see there, that G3 made very light work of that, and it's come off. Tea-cutting would have took a little bit longer, and what I would do now, just to finish that off, plaster polish, and just buff it up to a shine. Again, that didn't take very long at all. As I say, teacup or a little bit of brasso works as well, the stuff that you use for polishing brass. Anything that's sort of an abrasive type polish will work. And there we go, that's come off. The last thing I want to speak about really is about cleaning sort of components, cleaning chains, that sort of thing. And the easiest way I've found with that is this stuff, brake and clutch cleaner, and it's automotive. It's for cleaning brake surfaces and or clutch surfaces, and it's a solvent, hence the gloves and the glasses, but it breaks down oil and removes it. So what I tend to do is, if I can clean it on the bike, for instance, something like that, so if I get a cloth, let's have a look at the hub, I spray it on the hub, you can see already it's started to lift that off, and if I do that, straight away you can see it coming up nice and shiny, because it's breaking the oil down and taking the oil off. So you imagine if you spent a bit of time there with a paintbrush, for instance, so if you had a paintbrush and you had a bit of time and you sort of sprayed it behind there and you got the brush in, you can get all that oil and grease from behind there quite easily, and it'll all come off. It will drip all over your nice chrome rims though, so probably do that job first. But it doesn't take much to polish your rims back up again. So that'll come up nice and clean. Do the full hub, give it a bit of polish, it'll look great. If it's something like a chain, there's a couple of ways of doing a chain. If the bike's upside down, which I can do now, there are chain cleaners which I do actually have, and you run the chain through and it cleans the chain. They are quite expensive, and I'm trying to avoid showing you jobs to do that you need specialist equipment for. So if I was going to do the chain, I'd get a cloth, I'd fold it up, soak the cloth in the brake cleaner, put it on the chain and just pedal it round. Maybe turn the chain over, turn the cloth over, do the same again, and just clean off what you can. If you want to take the components off to do them, that's fine, and what I tend to do, clean them in a tin. So again, old Rose's tin or a Hero's tin or whatever this may be, take the chain off, put it in, soak up your brake and clutch cleaner, give it a good rub. If you wanted to use a wire brush, you can do. I tend to prefer a copper brush. It doesn't scratch as much as a steel brush. You rub steel with steel, it'll scratch. You rub steel with copper, and the copper sacrifices itself before the steel does, so I tend to use a copper brush to clean that. So I could take the chain off, I could put it in there, soak it with the brake cleaner, give it a good clean, take the chain out, give it a dry off, it'll come up really nice and clean. And then you can just soak it with a bit of GT85 before you put it back on again, and that gives you some lubricant properties back into the chain again. You can then also, rather than having a load of oil to tip down the sink, which obviously we can't do, you can let it dry in the tin, clean it out with a cloth, throw it in the bin, and you'll just be left with a bit of oily gunge at the bottom rather than a liquid that you'll be stuck with. So that's kind of what I would do. Sort of finishing it off, I'd give it a good polish. As you saw, I'd polish the full thing over and over. You can see the shine on that now, it looks really nice. And to finish it off, I always like shiny tyres, so I have a tin of tyre slick, which is for cars. Again, spray it on your tyres and it makes your tyres nice and shiny. Stuff like that you need to keep away from braking surfaces, so if you do have a braking surface like this one, you need to mask that off, or try not to get on the brakes. If you do, a bit of brake cleaner will remove it. Brake cleaner is really good at removing oil, removing lubricant. So as I said earlier, if you were spraying GT85 on your frame and you accidentally sprayed it onto your braking surface, the clutch and brake cleaner, soak on a cloth and rub it over where you don't want the oil to be, and it'll bring it off straight away. Well, that's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching.